And whether how fast or how slow or how hard you were going, I mean, there's literally no denying it. And did it pop it out, or? I mean, it's.
I mean, it came out. That's when I called before it actually was damaged.
How long ago was that?
But I mean, that was about a month ago or so. And I was supposed to get a call back, and I didn't. Now you look at, like I said, you look at this. It's obviously something's not right, because if these bolts are in, and it's not missing. It's not like it hit something that unscrewed it and popped it out. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I mean, I'll tell you what I can do. I can look up to see how much the part cost, and I would not mark it up at all and sell you it at cost.
Right. Would you deny that that was installed improperly?
It's hard. I'm being straight. I'm being
If the
straight
bolt
up
is
honest.
missing, would you deny that that was installed improperly?
I can't say that for 100%
Can you
sure.
imagine any other way that that bolt would have come out other than it not being installed?
If I didn't see any scratch marks on the bottom, I would say absolutely right.
Scratch marks. Mild scratch marks. That would come.
I mean,
Are you kidding me?
I'm not saying you got a chunk of your bumper missing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
Please
that.
don't insult my intelligence.
I'm definitely not
obvious
insulting
that
your intelligence.
Something's missing there.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Something's definitely missing there.
So that would mean that it was done improperly, and that would mean that it would have been the liability.
Or it was caused from the damage at the bottom of the bumper. It's really hard to. I'm not.
The bolt came out, it unscrewed itself. Is that what you're saying?
It's.
Come on.
I mean, I see what you're getting at. I definitely see what you're getting at, and I can't say definitively whether we messed up or was this part of the damage.
Well, that's an indication that something was done improperly, which would lead me to believe that that's a very good possibility of why that was done improperly. If it's missing bolts there, it most likely wasn't installed properly, right? Is there any other conclusion that you could come to why those bolts would be off there?
Besides there being damage to the bottom of the bumper, that there's damage to the bottom of the bumper.
Why the bolts would have unscrewed? That's what you're telling me right now. Come on.
or that's the reason why they either unscrewed or popped out.
Popped out, so the threaded bolts popped out.
Are you saying that there's no way the damage that it was caused from the bottom of the bumper?
I'm saying that that was done improperly.
And the damage at the bottom of the bumpers, there's no way that could have inflicted.
I'm not saying, all I'm saying is that was done improperly.
They could have backed themselves out after you ran over it and you popped this tab out, and that's what got the liner to start rubbing up against the wheel. I will say that.
All right, was that done improperly?
I can't say that for sure, because I can't say if those backed themselves out when the fender liner is sitting there doing that because this clip came out.
Come on, man.
No, I'm serious.
The bolts, it's threaded.
It is threaded.
They're not in there. Something was done improperly. I didn't even notice that before, but I figured it was an obvious thing that was most likely done improperly. But since you're showing me, all those other ones are in, except for the ones right there.
Right.
So that's an indication that something's not in there firmly. If it had been in there firmly, that would never have come up.
So on this side, that one clip right there, the only clip that holds this fender liner in, if you run over something, and this thing, I can take it out with barely 2 fingers and it'll pop out.
Okay.
It's just plastic. If you were to pull over something barely and it pulled this and it popped this clip out, and then this comes away from the bumper,
I get everything you're saying.
That could easily.
But wouldn't you think the chances of something like that happening would increase if it was not installed properly? If something was loose, like say it's missing bolts, you know what I'm saying?
I definitely get what you're saying. I'm not insulting your intelligence. Honestly, I'm not. But this is something that we see all the time, and it's not like we don't properly put them together a lot of times.
You're telling me you're not going to fix it?
What I'm saying is that I can charge you the cost of the part, which is probably around 50 bucks.
I personally don't think I should be paying that because, and I didn't even notice that until just now. If that wasn't installed improperly, I don't think I should be paying that. I don't think I should have been paying it anyways because that thing came loose and I called ahead of time.
But I mean, so when the clip comes out and this is just literally rattling around and your tire key is bouncing off of it, these bolts can back out at one point in time. At some point in time, they can back themselves out. When this thing is literally flopping as you're driving around, it potentially could.
Right, but then you go ahead and add on to this whole big piece right here is held to the car, the outside, by these bolts that are missing. And so you take those out, then the stability of the whole thing is compromised.
It is.
Which would lead to potentially something like that happening.
We can replace the liner. If you buy the liner for 50 bucks, I won't charge for the labor to
I don't want to pay for anything. It wasn't done properly. I don't want to spend any more money than I should. It's an inconvenience that I'm having to come back in here when it should have been done right.
If there was
Is there anything that I'm saying that doesn't make sense?
No.
If it was you, would you accept that? If it was your car and bolts are missing and that comes loose, would you accept that?
I've seen it on my own car happen, and I've replaced them myself on my own, well, my wife's vehicle, and so that's That's how.
But if you got it work done, and you're in the same situation that I'm with that stuff missing, would you?
If I told you, yes, I believe in what we did is proper, you still wouldn't believe me. We work on thousands and thousands and thousands of cars. And out of thousands and thousands of cars, we probably get 20 of them % back. And sometimes the stuff is still connected to it, but there might be a couple of clips along the edge where and there's all kinds of damage on the bottom. Honestly,
there's not all kinds of damage.
No, not on this car, not on this particular car, but on like other cars. There's this, like this, but it's a lot worse.
For me to see, I would even be a little bit more willing to accept it if there was some sort of significant damage, but you look all the way around, there's nothing down there that could be even close to being significant enough for it to cause that more than it not being put in correctly. There's bolts missing.
Yes. And I'm not disagreeing with that. I mean, not even a little bit.
Those don't pop loose. Those screw and unscrew.
Right, but they can back out once that thing is just literally sitting there flopping in the wind.
How do they back out?
Because this right here is sitting there. This, when it's tight, this right here is still, this fender liner is still flopping around on the inside as you're driving by.
So they unscrew?
They can back out.
More or less what you're saying is they could unscrew.
They can back out. If a head bolt can back out of a block of an F-250.
They're screwed in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me by that shaking they could unscrew?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm not saying that because I don't want to buy you a liner. I'm not saying that at all. And I'm not trying to get over on you at all. If I haven't seen this a couple hundred times, I would say, yeah, you got me.
You've seen this scenario a couple hundred times.
I've been working in the body shop for 15 years. So I have seen.
I think this is a little bit different in that it's not going to work, is it?
What?
You're blowing my mind, man, honestly. Like,
I'm not trying to get over on you in any way.
That those bolts unscrewed themselves is more or less what you're telling me. That is what you're telling me.
I wouldn't say they unscrewed themselves. They backed out on a head bolt on an F-250.
Backed out. would mean the same thing as unscrewing themselves because they're threaded. So that's what you're saying. You're saying they unscrewed themselves.
I would say they backed out.
You don't want to say unscrew themselves
because there's nothing that's sitting there to unscrew it. I mean, if in the technicality world, I mean, okay, yeah, they got unscrewed.
Right.
I'm not saying you unscrewed them. I'm not saying I unscrewed them, but they backed themselves out, and they're not there anymore.
Okay. All right then.
But I mean, the liner's $70. I'm not trying to charge you with $70. I'm trying to charge you the cost of the part.
Trying to pay any kind of
where
money
we don't make a dollar
right
on it, and we would have it installed. I would have it installed for free.
No.
Okay.
Thank you. No, that's not acceptable. And like I said, I mean, I'll take it to the next step, I guess. And I'm not sure what that is, but I just don't feel it's even reasonable to suggest that the bolts unscrewed themselves from that. If you come to this whole conclusion, I think to me the more reasonable conclusion was that they weren't put in right, and that's what led to it. But we're going around in circles right now, so it's not going to do any good to talk anymore. So I'll figure out what I'm going to do, and we'll see. Okay, thank you.
I mean, I'm not.
That's it. Thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I wish I could help you out.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye.